You won't believe the tea we're spilling today. From secret breakups to shocking lies, this is Unreal Tea. Hit subscribe before the drama starts. Welcome, everyone. The atmosphere within the Brown family was oppressive, even on a Flagstaff day of sunshine. Christine, radiant yet exhausted in the last days before her pregnancy, felt the walls shutting in. Every move she made bore the burden of a choice that would forever alter her family. This wasn't a matter of a baby. This was about love, betrayal, and the crash of two men who had once symbolized opposite extremes of her life. Christine had walked away from Cody's dark presence, seeking solace in David's reassuring hands and peaceful heart. But as the due date loomed near, rumors circulated around the family. Would Cody even get into the hospital room? Would he attempt to take back control of Christine at her weakest point? Mary dodged the subject. Janelle quietly cheered Christine's autonomy on, and Robin whispered about respect and order within the family, terms that only lit Christine further. Fans online exploded with theories, some claiming Christine would allow Cody in for the baby's sake, others insisting she would ban him outright. Then, late one Friday afternoon, everything shifted. Christine went into labor earlier than expected. The contractions came hard, the calls went out, and by nightfall, both David and Cody found themselves on a collision course, inside the very same hospital. The setting was in place, and what would be revealed would prove to be one of the most surprising and memorable moments in Sister Wives history. Flagstaff's sun rose high, casting long shadows over the peaceful suburban neighborhood where David and Christine had established their new home. Christine was pregnant, 9 months into it, her hands placed gently on her pregnant belly as she ambled slowly around the kitchen, attempting to calm her breathing. This was the moment of sheer bliss, the new chapter, the new start. But it never happened with joy in the Brown family, and this time the drama was building in the shape of two men, Kody Brown, the father of her elder children and her previous husband, and David Woolley, the guy who had finally provided her with the tranquility she yearned for. While Christine made tea that morning, she couldn't shake the discomfort. She thought back to late-night fights with Cody in the past, his dictatorial words ringing in her head. "I'm the head of this family. I make the decisions." Now, here she was about to give birth to a baby with David in her corner, and the idea of Cody inserting himself in this intimate moment filled her with anguish. At the same time, elsewhere in town, Cody fumed. He had informed Robin the previous night that he would be there the day Christine went into labor. "That's still my family. She can't cut me out," he spat, striding back and forth across their living room floor. Robin, anxious but quiet, could only nod, aware that Cody's anger was a tempest that couldn't be shifted. Janelle, ever a voice of quiet reason, knew better. When Christine texted her that labor had started early, Janelle's heart sank. Cody won't let this go, she thought, and David won't back down either. By late afternoon, Christine's contractions were growing stronger. David packed her hospital bag, his voice calm, his hand steady on her shoulder. "I've got you," he whispered. "You and the baby. Nothing else matters right now." But even as Christine tried to focus on her breathing, her phone buzzed. Again. A message flashed across the screen from Cody. "I'm coming to the hospital. Don't try to keep me out." Her heart dropped. This wasn't just going to be a birth. This was going to be a battle. And as night fell over Flagstaff, the hospital lights glowed like a beacon of drama. Within those walls, two men, one from Christine's past, one from her current life, were on a collision course that would split the Brown family into pieces forever. Beeping monitors murmured along the hospital corridors, echoing footsteps, and the soft hum of nurses switching shifts. Christine's wheelchair creaked softly as David rolled her through the maternity ward double doors. Her face was flushed, both from the contractions and the storm of emotions swirling inside her chest. David leaned down, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. "Focus on the baby, Christine. Block everything else out. I'll handle it." His words carried warmth, but behind his calm exterior, David's jaw was tight. He was aware this day was not only about bringing a new life into the world, but about safeguarding Christine from the darkness of her history. Within the birthing suite, the fluorescent lights seemed both unforgiving and shielded. Christine attempted to regulate her breath while a nurse attached her to a monitor. The heartbeat of the baby dominated the room, rapid and even, reassuring her with a beat that threatened to smother all the fear creeping up in her chest. Almost. And then, the door swung open. Kody Brown shoved his way into the room, blonde locks tangled, eyes burning with rage. He hadn't even signed in at the front reception. His fame preceded him, and nobody wished to cross the man at that moment. He brought the tempest of 20 years of unresolved disagreements into the delivery room. "Christine," Kody growled, his voice bouncing off the clean walls. "You can't exclude me from this. I have the right to be here. This is my family, my kids, my legacy." Christine's eyes bulged in amazement, her body stiffening in mid-contraction. David moved quickly to block Kody's path with a steady but firm position. "She doesn't want you here, Kody," David stated, his voice unwavering, measured, but with an acuity razor-sharp enough to slice through steel. "It has nothing to do with your legacy. This is about Christine. And this baby. Sit down or get out." For an instant, silence held the room in its grasp, heavy, crushing silence. The only other sound was the constant beep of Christine's heart, monitor, and the soft thrum of her desperate breathing. But Kody wasn't a back-or-down kind of guy. He advanced another step, shaking his finger at David. "You think you've taken my place? You think you can just waltz into my household and assume control? You don't realize what you're handling." David's eyes gave a narrow cast, his stance unyielding like a wall between Kody and Christine. "What I do realize is that Christine doesn't need your domination anymore. She doesn't want your anger, and she sure as hell doesn't want you in this room as she fights to welcome her child into the world." Christine winced in agony as another contraction struck, her hand clutching the rail of the hospital bed. "Stop it!" she shouted, her voice shaking. "Both of you, please! This is my time, not yours!" Her request only added to the tension. Nurses came running in, murmuring urgent orders, attempting to get the scene out of hand. One of them moved close to Christine, speaking softly but insistently. "Do you want him taken away?" Christine blinked rapidly between David and Kody. Her forehead was slick with sweat as she panted through another contraction. Her lips quivered, wavering between terror, rage, and weariness. At last, she breathed, "If he can't quiet down, yes." Kody's eyes locked onto Christine. He froze. For the first time, his bluster broke, his eyes narrowing in amazement. He had never thought Christine, once submissive wife who had followed his every whim, would prefer someone else's company to his. But the evening was only just starting, and the storm had just erupted. Because what followed would leave even the hospital workers amazed, a battle so fierce it resonated through the corridors, hours after the baby's initial cry. The delivery room was meant to be a refuge, a place where new life was brought into the world, where love conquered fear. What transpired was a battleground. Christine clutched the bed rail, her knuckles white, with perspiration dripping down her brow. The monitor on her side beeped frantically, monitoring her and the baby's heartbeat. Nurses hovered anxiously, torn between medical obligation and the chaos that was unfolding. Kody's face was red with indignation, his curls sodden with sweat as he stood up to David. His voice cracked with fury, the same fury fans had witnessed far too often on their televisions. "You don't belong here," Kody growled, his chest pumping. "That's my wife. That's my family. You're just a distraction." David did not back down. He stood where he was, his hand held higher, protective but firm, his eyes fixed on Kody like a man who would not quit. "She wasn't your wife anymore when you weren't treating her as such," David retorted. "Christine needs peace. Christine needs love. And she damn well ought to be allowed to give birth to this child in peace without your mess contaminating the air." Christine groaned aloud as another contraction racked her body, her voice cracking. "Stop it! Both of you! Please! Please stop!" But Kody couldn't be stopped. His pride was bubbling over, his life falling apart before his eyes. He took a step nearer, jabbing a shaking finger toward David. "You think you're some sort of savior? You think you can wipe me out of my children's lives? You'll never be their father. You'll never take my place. David's face set. I don't have to take your place. You've done that all on your own. Gasps issued from the nurses in the corner. Christine's ragged breathing filled the room. Then it did. Cody pushed forward, his hand striking David's chest. The hospital room was in an uproar. Nurses screamed, rushing to untangle them. David took a step back but quickly regained balance, fists tight by his sides. He didn't punch, but his glare could slice steel. Touch me again, David warned, his voice low and menacing, and you won't only be thrown out of this hospital. You'll never be allowed to see Christine again. A nurse yelled out for security, her radio crackling with calls ringing out down the hall. Christine's monitor beeped wildly, her heart rate racing into the danger zone as tears ran down her face. Get him out! Christine finally bellowed, her voice raw, desperate, and pained. I can't do this with him here. I won't do this with him here. The words cut deeper than any shove. Cody stood immobilized, his chest pumping, his eyes flicking. From Christine's tormented face to David's unyielding position. For the first time, the man who had dominated 4 wives stood helpless. 2 hospital security guards burst in, one on either side of him. Their voices were calm but absolute. Sir, you need to step outside now. Cody struggled initially, jerking his arm away, his voice cracking into a rage-filled bellow. You're making a mistake, Christine. This is my family. You'll regret this. But Christine buried her face in her pillow, crying and weeping and holding David's hand in a tight grasp as she whispered through tears. No, Cody. The only mistake I ever made was letting you control me for so long. Those words, raw, final, irreversible, silenced even Cody's rage. The guards escorted him out, his furious shouts echoing down the sterile hallways until the doors slammed shut. Inside, the room finally exhaled. Christine's breathing steadied as David brushed her hair from her damp forehead, whispering gently, He's gone. It's just us now. Focus on the baby. You're safe. And as the nurses regrouped, as Christine prepared for the final push, fans watching from a distance would never forget. This was the night the Brown family's fractures became permanent scars. Because while a baby was soon to be born, a family legacy had just died in that hospital room. The room subsided into a tenuous peace after Cody was kicked out, but the wounds of his presence remained like ashes after flames. Christine's chest heaved and fell erratically, her respirations uncertain, eyes puffy with tears. Each contraction appeared to bear not only the agony of giving birth, but the burden of decades, years of stifled rage, submission, and shattered vows. David remained at her side, his hand securely in hers, his presence a rock-solid anchor against the tempest. His thumb caressed her knuckles, centering her, reminding her this was her time, her opportunity to finally take back control of her own narrative. The nurse fiddled with the monitor, her voice soothing but tinged with anxiety. Christine, your body is experiencing stress. We require you to concentrate on your breathing. Breathe in deeply, breathe out. You can do it. Christine nodded feebly, weeping as she whispered, I don't want him anywhere close to us. Not ever again. David bent forward, his forehead almost touching hers. He's gone, he whispered. He's not present in this moment. This is about us, about you, and about this little one. Nothing else exists. Those words steadied her, if only for an instant. But another contraction ripped through her, harder than before, and Christine's body corkscrewed against the hospital bed. The monitor beeped more quickly, ringing out in strained silence. She screamed, her hand clutching David so hard he almost flinched. I can't do this, she wept. Not like this, not after all of that. David's voice was low, soothing, unshakable. Yes, you can. You're more powerful than you know. More powerful than Cody ever credited you with. Every time he didn't believe in you, every time he dismissed you, this is the moment that you show him that you can. You're not giving birth to a baby. You're giving birth to yourself out of his shadow. Christine's eyelids closed as another spasm of pain washed over her, but David's words stuck themselves within her chest, a spark of will combating the fatigue. The doctor arrived, his eyes on the monitors. Time. Christine, we need to push. The room went into gear. Nurses moved the bed, lights cut, medical trays clinked softly in the background. Christine's breaths were ragged, but David never released her hand. He counted with her, his voice leading her through the pace. 1, 2, 3. Breathe. 1, 2, 3. Push. The hours drag on. Every contraction etches its mark on Christine's body and soul, each push drawing her nearer not only to motherhood, but to liberty. Her thoughts flashed, nights alone in Flagstaff, the empty expression in Cody's eyes when he brushed aside her emotions, the night she packed up and left. All the memories arose and were consumed by the flames of this new life. She was at one moment weakened, her head resting against the pillow. I can't, she croaked. It's too much. I don't have anything left. David held her face gently with his other hand, his eyes glassy but resolute. Yes, you do. Look at me, Christine. You've borne this family on your back for years. You've suffered pain that would have destroyed anyone else. This is yours to complete. For you. For our child. For your freedom. Christine's eyes opened, focusing on his. Something within her shifted. Fatigue became flame. Despair became defiance. The next contraction hit, and she pushed with a raw, guttural scream that rattled the room. The nurses encouraged her, the doctor pressed her on, and David's voice kept her tethered in the tumult. And then silence. And then the most exquisite sound Christine had ever heard. A cry, a baby's cry. High-pitched, delicate, but strong enough to cut through all of the tension, all of Cody's anger's shadows, all of the aching memories that pursued her. Christine fell back against the bed, great tears streaming down her face, her body shuddering, with relief and weariness. The nurse deposited the tiny, swaddled infant into her arms. Christine's hands trembled as she held the new life close against her chest, her tears falling unashamedly, not only from the pain, but also from the freedom of years of anguish. David bent down, his hand enveloping the baby's head as his lips touched Christine's temple. You did it, he murmured. You did it, Christine. This is our start. Nobody is ever going to second-guess this with us. Christine gazed down at the baby's tiny face, her tears dropping gently onto the blanket. Whole, she was whole for the first time in decades. Not as a sister wife, not as a woman in Cody's orbit, but as Christine. A woman, a mother, a survivor. And under the cold lights of the hospital in this cold winter morning, she knew this wasn't just the birth of a child. It was her moment of liberation. By morning, the lights in the hospital grew dim, but the saga had already spilled onto the streets. It spread quickly, not merely in hushed tones in Flagstaff, but everywhere from fan forums to Facebook groups, TikTok edits, and Reddit threads. The Sister Wives community knows a thing or two about turmoil, but this was different. A birth that should have been sacred had turned into a public battlefield. On Reddit, one post shot to the top of the r Sister Wives subreddit within hours. Did anyone else hear that Cody tried to storm Christine's delivery room? I'm shaking. This man has no boundaries. Replies poured in. Cody cannot stand that Christine has a new life and real love. This proves it. David is already 10 times the husband Cody ever was. He stayed calm and protective. Imagine Christine trying to push while Cody is screaming outside the door. Nightmare. Meanwhile, on TikTok, fans stitched together reenactments of the alleged fight. One viral clip showed a creator slamming open a door yelling, "I'm her husband!" before being dragged away by friends dressed as nurses. It accumulated more than 3 million views within 12 hours, with the caption, Cody at the hospital, meanwhile Christine just trying to breathe? Sister Wives. Christine's dedicated fans on Facebook fan sites were sadder. One read, Christine deserves peace. She deserves to give her baby life surrounded by love, not anger. Cody will never change. Hundreds of comments poured in with tear emojis, prayers, and angry defenses of Christine's right to happiness. Even on Twitter X, hashtags such as Cody Meltdown, Christine deserves better, and David V's Cody trended locally. Some fans even cracked jokes about making the battle into a Lifetime movie script, but others insisted that TLC drop unseen footage. If TLC cameras captured any of this, they better not edit it. We need the raw hospital fight scene. This will be the most watched episode ever in Sister Wives history. Guarantee it. Janelle, typically reticent on social media, quietly liked a fan comment which said, "Christine deserves the world, and Cody deserves his own reflection." Fans screenshotted it immediately, sharing it in Instagram stories like wildfire. Mary, meanwhile, shared something mysterious on her Instagram story, a black backdrop with the words, "Peace isn't found," in chaos. Within minutes, fan blogs were speculating. Was this shade directed at Cody? Or Christine? The comment streams blew up. And then there was Robin. Fans picked up on the fact that she had gone dark. No posts, no likes, no comments. For the fandom, silence was louder than words. "Protecting Cody once more," another Redditor commented. Typical Robin. By noon, YouTube breakdowns and live reaction streams created by fans were top of search results. Creators broke down each and every rumor, deconstructed Christine's hospital timeline, and theorized how TLC would edit the season. It was argued that this was the real breaking point of the show, the moment that turned Sister Wives from a polygamy docuseries into a full-blown reality TV courtroom drama. And everywhere there was one message echoed. Christine had finally triumphed, not only in love, not only in independence, but in the hearts of the people. For the first time in years, fans weren't merely sympathizing, they were mobilizing. Christine's baby wasn't merely a fresh start to her life. To fans, it was a sign of hope, survival, and ultimately escaping Cody's grasp. The infant had hardly drawn its first breaths before another tempest was conceived, not within the hospital, but within the halls of TLC. Phone lines rang hot. Emails were zipping back and forth. Executives were huddled in emergency conference calls, their tone cutting, with alarm. What had occurred at that Flagstaff hospital wasn't merely family soap, it was TV gold. But it was also perilous. One of the veteran producers slammed her notebook closed, grumbling, "We can't write this level of mayhem, but we can't show all of it on the air. This could ruin Cody's reputation forever." One of the more ambitious producers retorted, "Or it could make season 19 the franchise's highest-rated season ever." Fans already know Christine's tale speaks to them. Now they'll witness her rebirth. In backroom deliberations, TLC executives considered the gamble. For years, Cody had been the patriarch, the face of the brand. But with every scandal, every outburst, every fan outcry, his image unraveled further. Now, with reports of him yelling outside a delivery room, pulling nurses around, and being hustled out by hospital staff, was Kody Brown too toxic to salvage? At the same time, tabloid front pages glowed in the dark. Sister Wives birth drama, Kody Brown erupts at Christine's hospital room, People magazine. Christine welcomes baby amid shocking delivery room fight, Us Weekly. Sources claim Cody dragged out by security during Christine's labor. The Sun. Entertainment Tonight covered the story as well, their anchors talking in practice shock. "We've followed this family for over a decade, but this might be the most explosive moment yet. A hospital showdown, a new baby, and fans demanding answers. What's next for Sister Wives?" By midday, insiders started leaking details. A nurse anonymously told a reporter, "It was like nothing I've ever seen. This wasn't about a baby anymore. It was about control." One man yearned to hijack a moment that no longer was his. Producers, in a flurry, argued over whether to air the footage at all. Cameras had been rolling outside the hospital, capturing Cody's shouting match in dramatic detail. Inside, Christine had authorized brief filming, and rumors circulated that even David's sobbing pep talks could find their way onto television. One source revealed to TMZ, "The fight is real." The cameras captured more than fans believe. TLC is horrified but also excited. They know this will potentially double ratings, but Cody is angry. He's threatening to leave. Cody, in fact, wasn't quiet. That night, he told a local Arizona station, his tone short and guarded. "This is my family. I had every right to be there. People are twisting the story. Don't believe the lies." But people didn't believe it. Screenshots of his words made the rounds on Twitter, with people saying things like, "Cody declaring Christine's birth his moment? This guy never quits. No surprise that TLC needs to spin this, it's too ugly for prime time." Christine remained silent. Her Instagram remained unfettered, except for one bland photo posted afterward. A soft portrait of her baby's small hand curled around her finger. The caption, "Welcome to the world, little one. You are loved." It was all that was I needed. The post swarmed with 500,000 likes within 24 hours, silencing every thread of Cody's story. In the background, TLC understood something. Christine was no longer simply a cast member. She was the pulse of the show, the one holding its destiny. And in that instant, execs made a quiet choice. Sister Wives was no longer about polygamy. It was about survival, control, and who really held the Brown family name. The hospital's reverberation hadn't dissipated when the waves ran to every nook of the Brown family. Each wife, current and previous, dealt with the chaos in her own way. But one truth was inevitable. Everything would never be the same. Janelle was the first to speak out in private. Her phone rang continuously with fan texts, family calls, and a dozen alerts from group chats she had long since muted. Seated by herself in her quiet kitchen, she let out a deep breath, then called, "Christine. You okay?" Janelle's tone was soft but firm. Christine, her baby sleeping in her arms, whispered back, "I'm tired, but I'm free. I feel free, Janelle, for the first time." Janelle closed her eyes, swallowing hard. "You did it, Christine. You did it. You stood up. He couldn't take that away from you. And I'm proud of you." Those weren't words of encouragement. They were a hidden announcement. Janelle had taken a side, and it wasn't Cody's. Mary, on the other hand, was conflicted. She sat on her couch, scrolling through tabloid stories and fan comments, her complexion white in the light of her phone. The title, "Cody Dragged Out by Security," echoed in her mind as a broken record. Fans swamped her comment section on Instagram. "Mary, comment! Do you stand with Christine?" But Mary pecked at responses repeatedly and deleted them. Her devotion to Cody was knotted, frayed thin after years of abandonment, but remained on her like cobwebs. Later, during her confessional interview, her eyes were filled with turmoil. "I don't approve of what transpired, but I don't know. Cody has always been controlling, but this, in a hospital, Christine was entitled to serenity. And perhaps I'm seeing that I've been holding on to someone who isn't the man I believe he is." Her silence was deafening. Robin's universe, however, spun into chaos. She sat at her dining room table, her face in her hands, and Cody paced, angrily back and forth in the background. "This is a witch hunt," he ranted. "They want to crucify me." Christine is playing the victim, David is playing the hero, and the fans, they're lapping it up. Robin's voice trembled as she attempted to calm him. "Cody, if you just apologized—" "I will not apologize for wanting to be there for my family," he snarled, pounding his fist on the table. Robin winced, tears pricking her eyes. She hadn't made a post since the hospital debacle, and the fans were taking notice. On boards, speculation ran rampant. Was she privately embarrassed? Was she siding with Cody? Was she silenced in fear of what might happen if she spoke up? Off camera, TLC cameras documented her internal struggle in spine-tingling detail. Alone in confession, Robin whispered, "I love my husband. I do. But occasionally, I wonder if he's killing himself, and all of us along with him." These responses played out. The family lines drew tighter. Janelle openly joined Christine. Mary vacillated, torn between loyalty and self-interest. Robin clung to Cody, but cracks appeared in her facade. And Christine, with David and her newborn beside her, had no idea of going back. The Brown family wasn't merely broken, it was splintering into fragments, every wife having to decide faithfulness to Cody or independence with Christine. And the Fans? They saw it all go down, their voices more audible than ever before, creating family drama, a public spectacle that TLC could never regulate. At the end of the week, it wasn't TLC, the tabloids, or the Brown family for that matter that controlled the narrative, it was the fans. The trial of public opinion had been held, and the defendant was Kody Brown. On Twitter, X, the hashtags burst forth like fire. Uncancel Kody, charge to Christine wins. Sister Wives scandal, to Kody meltdown. Justice for Christine. Tens of thousands of tweets came in each hour. Footage of Kody walking back and forth outside the hospital, red-faced and yelling, went viral with captions such as, "This is what narcissism looks like in real life," and "Christine got out before she got hurt." One viral thread drew his meltdown parallel to years of on-screen conduct. Remember when Kody yelled at Janelle for standing up for herself? Or when he told Christine she was selfish for leaving? This hospital fight is just the mask slipping off. He's always been this man. The post garnered more than 100,000 likes within a day. Meanwhile, on TikTok, the young fan base made the drama a movement. Producers cut Christine's serene baby news together with clips of Kody going ballistic in previous seasons, overlaying captions such as, "She picked peace, he picked chaos." The dichotomy struck home, and the fans mobilized. One TikTok movement, based on the clip "You Are Loved" from Christine's baby announcement, went viral. Thousands of accounts posted clips with messages of breaking free from toxic relationships, addressing Christine herself. The trend was no longer just about sister wives. It was about hope, independence, and survival. Christine herself had become a reality TV folk hero. Media outlets applauded her toughness. Christine Brown, from sister wife to survivor. People magazine, Christine's baby brings joy after chaos. E! News, fans rally behind Christine as Kody faces backlash. Variety. At the same time, Kody's reputation collapsed in public. Memes ridiculed his conduct. Facebook groups, which previously argued polygamy dynamics, were now posting anti-Kody petitions requesting that TLC chop him off the show. One fan page with 50,000 people even put up a campaign called "Keep Christine, Drop Kody." TLC was in the hot seat. A petition for Christine to have more airtime and less on Kody reached over 75,000 signatories in 2 days. Advertisers allegedly started wondering if Kody's brand was becoming too toxic for brand partnerships. Even ex-TLC sources started spilling rumors. Kody isn't the star anymore. Christine is the ratings draw. TLC knows it. The fans know it. And Kody can't stand it. And maybe most tellingly came from Christine's silence. She didn't clap back. She didn't comment on the fight. She didn't put up rants. She just posted pictures of her new baby swaddled in sunlight, captioning them such things as love, peace, joy. Her silence was not weakness. It was strength. The fans did not require her to speak. They spoke for her. They raised her up, drowned out the defenses of Kody, and made her the focal point of the story. Kody, who was once the king of a polygamous kingdom, was now the bad guy of his own tale. Christine, who was once his most overlooked and underestimated wife, was now the queen of the court of public opinion. And as hashtags trended and fans pledged their allegiance, it was obvious. This was not simply a scandal. This was a reckoning. Within TLC's offices, the arguments were done. Producers and executives had balanced the figures, the outrage, the headlines, and most crucially, the public outcry. Christine was the way forward. Kody, who had long been the franchise's driving force, was now a liability. His antics were not only controversial, they were likely to torpedo the show's credibility. One executive put the network's position in a leaked email subsequently printed by The Sun. "Our audience has made their choice. Christine is growth and empowerment. Kody is chaos and toxicity. We have to grow or we are going to lose our audience." Behind closed doors, TLC made subtle contract changes. Christine and David, their new marriage, their baby, their new beginning, would have more cameras. Janelle's increasing independence would also receive attention. Mary's was still up in the air. Robin's would depend on if she remained quiet or finally spoke out of turn. But Kody, he was warned. He would shrink. His storylines would be questioned. And if he didn't play along, the show would continue without him. When the news finally reached Cody, he lost it. Cameras followed him as he paced in his driveway, waving his arms, his voice ringing out in anger. "This is my family. My show. You think Christine built this? No, I did. And if TLC believes they can push me to the side, they'll be sorry." But the reality was that the tide had shifted. Christine, on her part, was the epitome of strength. In silence. Inside their house, with David soothing their infant in the golden light of afternoon, she recorded a brief confessional for TLC. Her face was weary but radiant. "For so long, I believed my story would be one of heartbreak," she whispered. "But sometimes the end you dreaded is the start you require. This baby is evidence of that. Evidence that love can be true, kind, and secure." Her words lit up like lightning across social media once broadcast. Fans cut to confessional clip, swamping TikTok and Instagram with headlines such as, "Christine finally got her happy ending," and "This is why we support her." Janelle visited soon after, holding the baby with tears in her eyes. "This isn't just your beginning, Christine," she whispered. "This is ours too. We're finally free to live life on our terms." Mary, still torn, sent flowers but no words. Fans dissected the gesture endlessly. Was it support, guilt, or fear of Cody's wrath? And Robin, for the first time in weeks, shared a lone Instagram story, a blurry picture of her hand wrapped around Cody's. "We stand together." The fandom swarmed immediately. Some called it loyalty. Others called it denial. But they all agreed. Robin's silence had been broken, and her loyalty was evident. By the end of the season, the change was certain. The polygamous fantasy Cody had held onto for years was shattered. The Brown household was no longer a family, but shards of various narratives. Christine's child had transcended mere childhood. It was a new beginning for Christine, a rallying point for viewers, and the moment TLC decided to bestow a new icon of Sister Wives. While the end credits hinted at a new season, a single tagline resonated across the screen. "From control to freedom, the Sister Wives story isn't over." Weeks had gone by since Christine delivered that night, but the reverberations of that hospital battle still shook every inch of the Brown legacy. Within Christine's house, sunlight poured into the living room where David held their newborn, softly rocking in a chair. Christine sat next to him, her fingers on his knee, her eyes tired but shining with peace. For the first time in years, her life was not chaos. It wasn't living on the edge. It was love. Uncomplicated love. "Every time I look at her," Christine had said in an interview, tears rising up, "I see freedom. I see a future that isn't dictated by fear. I see the woman that I struggled so hard to become." David, who was sitting beside her, continued softly, "She doesn't owe me saving. She saved herself, but I'll spend the rest of my life ensuring she never feels alone again." The viewers who watched that clip later referred to it as the most emotional in Sister Wives history. It wasn't the birth of a baby. It was the resurrection of Christine Brown. Janelle visited more regularly, her laughter ringing through Christine's house as she assisted with the baby. Every exchanged look between the two women reminded viewers that sisterhood was possible, even when polygamy collapsed. Mary was stuck in limbo, her ambiguous posts perpetuating rumors. Was she constructing an escape strategy of her own, or hanging on to the remnants of loyalty? Fans argued back and forth, but one thing stood to be true. She was no longer Cody's silent soldier. And Robin? Her hold on Cody only strengthened as his world careened more and more out of control. On television, she sobbed, "All I ever wanted was family. But it feels like we're losing everything, and I don't know how to stop it." Her words landed on some as sincere, on others as theatrical. But no matter the interpretation, the fracture was visible. Meanwhile, Cody himself spiraled. His face hardened in every confessional, his tone bitter, defensive, desperate. "They're rewriting the story," he snapped. "Christine betrayed me. Janelle betrayed me. Even Mary's gone cold. But I'm not done. Not yet. This is my family, and I'll fight for it." The final shot of the season cut between two worlds. Christine, bathed in daylight, holding her newborn close as David kissed her forehead. The sound of soft coos and Christine's quiet laughter filled the air. And Cody, pacing in the shadows of his empty Flagstaff home, fists clenched, his voice echoing off bare walls. This isn't over. They think they've won, but I'm still here. And they'll regret not taking me seriously. The screen went black. And on millions of television screens, one icy caption materialized in white letters. To be continued. This family's drama is far from over, so smash like if you're Dodge Team Wives, subscribe for the next explosive update, and drop a comment below. Who do you think will win? Stay shady, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next scandal. Behind TLC Sister Wives out.